Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m. in the Eastern time zone on the first Thursday of the month, and you know where you would be at the Cincinnati TV Toastmasters meeting. And today we are having a meeting that will consist of prepared speeches and designated evaluators. And that's one of the most important parts of Toastmaster meetings, that people agree to give a presentation and they practice. Many times it's 5 to 7 minutes. They practice their presentation, but someone is assigned or volunteers to evaluate the presentation. And they give them all of the good feedback that they notice in their speech, but they generally try to find some way for the speech to improve, or the speaker to improve, the content to improve, some way to improve. And our meeting tonight will also consist of impromptu speaking. And we have what we call table topics. And table topics is where we take sometimes the theme of the day or just random questions. And we ask a question to each person in the room and everyone who chooses to participate, some completely random question. And people can answer it in any way they choose. They can answer it in a funny way, or they can turn the tables on the way the question was asked and answer it in a different way. Now, I know we're expecting more team members tonight, and I am going to get us started with a little bit of a kickoff. However, we're going to need the word of the day. So Janet will be here in a second. Hello, Deshaun. I noticed that you joined us just now.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Thank you for being a part of our meeting. And we talked about, as we planned this meeting, we talked about the meeting being about living your dream. And so I don't know the word of the day that Janet was going to give us. And she is the grammarian. So I don't know. Someone else that joined said they had to update their Zoom before they could even get in. So sometimes that happens, and that's why people are just on their way. So should I come up with a word of the evening? Would you like to wait for Janet, or should we come up with a word?
I'm thinking that since these are recorded, that we might consider waiting until Janet can join, because she's also the Toastmaster. And
we might consider what, Veronica?
Waiting.
Okay.
Sounds like you have a hard time hearing me. Is everybody else having a hard time hearing me?
No, I mean, nope. You were a little low for me, so I can't turn my speakers up any higher than they're already up. So I just had a little trouble hearing.
Deshaun, any chance you could be timer?
You will not want me to take a role. I'm currently in a security issue right now at work. And so I'm kind of tackling two things. I was planning to just be here the entire time and focus on this meeting. But yeah, I just got a work call.
No, it's okay. No worries at all.
Juggling.
Take care of work. Yeah.
Right. Right. But thank you for joining in any way that you can, or any part of the way that you can.
I was just thinking that Jeff could go ahead and edit this part out, because we're sort of going back and forth a little bit.
I'm going to put my captions on, show captions. And Veronica, I did not really catch what you said.
Okay. Can anybody else tell her what I said? David, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've been multitasking again a little bit here. Trying to basically texting Janet in case that will help.
Well, we agreed in the last interaction that we would wait for Janet. Did she say anything, David, about
No reply yet. No, I
Trying to get in. Okay.
just this said we started the meeting. I told her we started the meeting and asking if she's going to join, but no reply yet.
Okay. Well, we're going to give Jeff a challenge to be able to edit, which he does very well anyway. He edits our meetings for concise content. And
we could stop the recording and start it again.
Okay, let's do that. Let's put it on pause. All right, so we have a good evening tonight planned with prepared speeches as well as impromptu speeches and an opportunity to give evaluations. Janet, are you with us tonight? Because you are the Toastmaster.
Okay, I finally figured out how to unmute. Okay.
You are.
I think I'm here.
We see you now.
Oh, good.
You have an expert in the background that's helping you.
All right, I'm finally here. Okay. All right. Yes, my computer, I had to do an upgrade, and for some reason it wouldn't load. So I'm using my iPad, and I got in on my iPad. Yes, I am the Toastmaster, and the theme of the meeting is Walt Disney's birthday. And he says something like, if you have the courage to dream something, you can achieve it. Something like that. I was actually a little late trying to log in because I picked up a little book on Walt Disney.
Oh, nice.
It's called Walt Disney Drawn from Imagination. I picked it up at the Peddler's March in Lebanon the other day. So I was enjoying reading the little chapters in the book. It's written kind of as a young person's level, but it's really nice. And Walt Disney was born December 5th, 1901 in Chicago. And later the family moved to a small town in Kansas to get away from the saloons and things like that in Chicago. But his father wasn't doing the best with learning how to be a farmer. So they did move from the farm. Well, anyway, Walt Disney remembered his experiences on the farm as an adult and actually built a replica of the barn as he remembered it later on. And Walt Disney, he really liked drawing. He was always entertaining other children and community with his drawing. He sold his first drawing of a horse for 25 cents. And anyway, he was going to be either an actor or an artist. And that is as far as I've gotten so far. That and he had a best friend named Walt. His first name was Walt also. That they acted together, like Walt Disney was Charlie Chaplin. Is that how you say his name? And the other guy was another character in that. And anyway, it's real. I'm glad I had time to just sit down and start reading this little book, and I look forward to this meeting and hearing the speeches we have on the agenda today. Let's see, do we have a timer yet?
David is going to be timer.
All right, David will be timer.
And what is the word of the day?
Do we have any guests?
Deshawn Ramey is on with us.
Okay, we do have guests. Okay. So David, could you explain the timing role to our guests?
Yes, I'm going to be the timer today, which means I'm going to be showing a green light or background as an initial warning. I'm going to be showing yellow to indicate you're getting close to running out of time, and then red to indicate you're out of time. But even at red, you have a 30-second grace period before we actually count you as being over. But if you see the red come up, it is time to end the roll or to end your speech. For table topics, the time is going to be 1 to 2 minutes. So green at 1, yellow at 1.5, red at 2. For speeches, it depends on the speech. So, for example, Veronica is 4 to 6 minutes, so it would be green at 4, yellow at 5, and red at 6. And finally, for evaluations, it's 2 to 3 minutes, so it's going to be 2.
We time ourselves at meetings, so we get a feel of how long we're talking. There might be situations where you have to give a 5-minute presentation, and since our speeches are 5 to 7 minutes, you can better judge how long you're speaking, or your CEO might ask you give me a 2-minute update on what's going on, and then you have an idea of how long 2 minutes is. So that's why we time ourselves. And then let's see, I'm the grammarian, and we pick a word of the day that we encourage people to use throughout the meeting. And our word of the day is respite. RESPITE. A noun meaning a short period of rest and relief from something difficult or unpleasant. So I guess today I was just taking a respite on the couch reading before the meeting. Okay. And I will also be counting things like filler words, so, buts, and looking for good uses of the language, some words that you might not normally hear, some unique uses of words, and also if I catch any grammatical errors, I'll try to point that out. And later on in the meeting, we'll have table topics, and guests are welcome to join in table topics. And that's extemporaneous speaking off the cuff. And usually you're asked a question that you haven't heard of before, and then given an opportunity to respond. Okay, so we have 2 speakers tonight, and they each have evaluators, and I'll let the evaluators introduce the speakers. So let's see, I'm looking on the wrong agenda. Okay, so our evaluator number 1 is Veronica. So if you would introduce our speaker, David, I'd appreciate it.
I'm so sorry. Normally we do table topics first at this club.
Oh, okay. See, I was looking at the other club's agenda.
I was thinking it didn't matter that we would do the speeches first, but are we ready for table topics?
Are we ready for table topics? Okay, so
I'm ready.
Table topics. Well, our table topic master is Bobby Joy Harris. So let's start with table topics.
All right. Okay. So we talked about the theme being Walt Disney, and I thought about having a dream and living your dream. And everybody's going to get an opportunity to answer a question tonight. So I have a question for David. So David, you're really going to have to expand your mind here. It is not necessarily about you. I'm asking you, do you know anyone who has had a dream and successfully gone after it. So it can be a person from history, a person from the past. Can you think of anyone who really you believe they lived their dream?
Thank you for that question. And my answer is going to be someone I know. I don't know him all that well, but I actually do think that he has achieved a really big dream. He's someone I know from the mathematics world. I think some of you know that I'm very interested in mathematics. And he had this dream to set up this website called The Art of Problem Solving. And it's a website to encourage really the very best bright young high school mathematics students across the entire world to perform well in mathematics. So this initially coaches them to do well in math competitions, but then it goes on and helps them get started in their careers and really lets them get going in the world of mathematics. And Rich is someone that I worked with in New York many years ago. I actually hired him into a Wall Street firm. And he already had this dream of the art of problem solving, but by hiring him, he made quite a bit of money. He actually made more money than I did, which in a way was not cool, but in another way was good because he had this dream he wanted to achieve, the art of problem solving, which was what he wanted to do during his time on Wall Street, make enough money to found this whole thing called the art of problem solving. And he succeeded in that. And he has this art of problem solving website that is reaching out to the best bright young math kids across the entire world. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Always a good answer. I like that. So, Janet, I have a question for you. I know that you have had dreams in the past, and you have been able to achieve some of your dreams. And I don't know if you're a person who sets goals, but can you tell me, do you have written goals or a written dream for the way you would like things to progress, maybe during the next year?
Thank you, Madam Table Topic Master, for the question about whether do I have written goals from my dreams. I do have this one sheet of paper that I had accumulated along the way where I could write down my number 1, 2, and 3 goals. I did that and I had so many things I wanted to get done. I wrote up to like 12 different goals on the one sheet of paper. And I have met some of those goals. I have published a couple children's books, self-published, and I have started to take harp lessons. That was one of my goals, to take harp lessons, because my husband built me a harp and wanted to be able to play it. Let's see. I think I do want to write a book about our family I grew up in. So that is a goal that's on my list that I had kind of set aside for a while, but now I'm trying to carve out time to get back to concentrating on that. So someday maybe I'll have a book about our family, and I'm also toying about writing another children's book about an owl, because owls are smart and whatever, and the owl has a son, of course, that's a little bit clumsy, but anyway, well, someday maybe we'll have another children's book too. Thanks.
Nice. Thank you, Janet. So I have another question. I have a question for Veronica. And I know you probably know how to dream and how to visualize and how to set your goals and those types of things. My question is, if I could create the perfect day for myself, what would that day be like? From the moment I wake up in the morning till the time I fall asleep at night, what would your perfect day be like?
Thank you very much, Madam Table Topics Master. My perfect day is to wake up naturally without an alarm, to take a shower, make my coffee, walk my dog, and I meditate. I do that to reduce stress and to help me plan my day, which I could do from a balanced, quiet mind much more easily than especially if I've had a negative nightmare or something like that. Then I work. I have spent 9 months of 2023 not working. And that was one of the most difficult times of my life because I naturally enjoy being of service and being of value and contributing. And I did many other things that summer. In addition, I would say that I eat very healthy food, organic vegetables, lots of them, fruits and whole grains, and very little meat. Salmon I do eat, and then just preparing really healthy food and sleeping when I'm tired, going to bed, not feeling driven constantly to get one more thing done and one more thing done and one more thing done. Thank you very much, Madam Tabletop Master.
Thank you, Veronica. Very good, very good. You would design the day that you have pretty much. I love that. I love that. Deshawn, we have time. Are you able to answer a 2-minute question or would you like to pass?
I can take it on. Let's do this.
You can take it on. All right. So this is also about people living their dream. Just asking you to think about a lot of people trying to live their dream or meet their goals. What do you think gets in the way of people living their dreams or being successful with their goals? Can you think of anything that gets in people's way?
That gets in their way of their goal.
Right. Meeting their goals and living their dream. There's somebody who does not know any way of
Can you hear me
anything
now?
getting in his way of getting his dream. But any ideas?
Sorry, everything froze up. Did you just say so basically, is there anything that can get into the way of dreams and goals?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Things that can get in the way of dreams and goals are people who do not want you to succeed. Sometimes people have some jealousy or they just want to have the successes that you do without working so hard for it. And then in the end, they wound up trying to bring you down in the world. Other things that might get in the way of success is maybe being handicapped or having some kind of handicap that is preventing you from reaching such a goal. And time, there's just not enough time sometimes to make it to the finish line. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Deshawn, and thank you for taking the time to answer a question for us. I guess I'll give myself a question. We still have enough time for one more question. And I'm going to answer the question of if I have any mentors who have lived their dream. So I would like to start by just naming some of the people that I follow. They're not actually my personal mentor, or they don't know that they're my mentor. I think as someone that this group might find interesting, if you don't already know about Robert Edward Grant. Robert Grant is a common name, and he goes by Robert Edward Grant to not be confused with probably many other Robert Grants. But he's a scientist, and he has a lot of good ideas about many things. So I find that I enjoy learning from Robert Edward Grant, the scientist. And I know that there are people who dream big. One of the people that I follow, Billy Carson, talks about growing up in extreme poverty. And by the time he was 7 years old, and he tells where he lived in Florida, I don't know that neighborhood offhand, but he sold his toys at 7 years old because he wanted to do things. He wanted to be better than the environment he was living in. And he said he went door to door selling his toys. And now he's a highly successful businessman. So I'm just going to say people like Richard Branson that have many businesses are successful. And I tend to want to learn more from people who've already received success. So that's a little bit more from me. I'm going to take some respite now from my duty of table topics and pass it back to you, Janet, the Toastmaster for today.
All right. Thank you. Very good. Now we will have this speaking portion of our meeting, another speaking portion besides table topics. We'll have prepared speeches, and they are usually introduced by the evaluator. So Veronica is David's evaluator. So Veronica, can you read us David's introduction?
Happy to. So David is a personal friend of mine. I've known him for many years. Title of his speech today is Getting Started Trading Cryptocurrencies. He is speaking from the level 3 elective of researching and presenting. And it is part of the persuasive influence pathway. David has been trading cryptocurrencies since 2015 and remains passionate about the changes cryptocurrencies are making in financial markets. Today, David will share a few of his thoughts for getting started as a new cryptocurrency investor. Please welcome David Ash, Getting Started Trading Cryptocurrencies. Getting Started Trading Cryptocurrencies, David Ash. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening. I'm Madam Toastmaster, club members, and guests, and it's good to see D.Ash here as a guest again. We've had D.Ash a number of times, so thank you again. A quick show of hands. We're going to talk about cryptocurrencies, but I do have a quick show of hands, and maybe D.Ash, if you're not visible, you can give a thumbs up if to raise your hand or something. How many of you have traded in cryptocurrencies at all? And let's see if we have. Okay, so as we have no, and D.Ash did not. Okay, that's good. It gives me a bit of a sense of the audience. A second follow-up question: how many folks are familiar with, let's say, the top 5 or 6 cryptocurrencies? So know a little bit enough about the market to know what the top few cryptocurrencies are. Okay, that definitely helps, and it gives a little bit of a sense of the background. Now, I'll try to work with that as I proceed. Okay, so why do people get involved in cryptocurrencies? Well, basically they do it because they want to secure their own financial future, or they want to secure a financial future for their family. It's fairly obvious, but that usually is the reason. I mean, they're looking to become more secure financially. And so why in particular should we be interested? Well, I'm going to talk about the elephant. I mean, there's an obvious elephant in the room, but sometimes the elephant in the room needs to be pointed out. I first started trading Bitcoin back in 2015 when Bitcoin was trading at $250. Today, conveniently for my talk, although I couldn't have planned it this way, today Bitcoin passed $100,000 for the first time in its history. So it has gone up by a factor of 400. I've never seen an investment of mine do anywhere close to that wealth. That's a huge elephant in the room, which just cannot be ignored in terms of being excited about cryptocurrencies. However, you're not really, if you're interested in getting into it now, you're not focused on what it did in the past. You're focused on what it's going to do in the future. If it did well in the past but tanks today, it's not going to be good. So why do I think cryptocurrencies are going to continue to go up, and especially Bitcoin? Well, let me start by talking a little bit about Walt Disney. Now, I don't actually know that much about the Disney organization, but I do know that I read a book a number of years ago. I read a book called Built to Last. It's a business book about companies, how companies establish themselves into, to succeed. And it particularly mentioned the Disney Corporation. It mentioned that Disney was built to last because it has a very strong corporate culture, and it's a culture which it does not allow people to deviate from if you work there. So people who work there don't always like that, because if they don't fit in with their culture, they're kind of out the door. But it does mean that it's built to last. Similarly, I see Bitcoin as something that's also built to last. It was established by someone named Satoshi Nakamoto back in 2009, and no one really knows who Satoshi is. I actually think I may know who he is. Interestingly, I have a pretty strong guess. I'm not going to say, because if it's who I think he or she is, this person is actually deceased, and it would be a violation of the privacy of this person's family if I were to say. And I could, of course, be wrong. But Satoshi has established something that's very well it's very well planned out. It has a pretty clear culture, so to speak, to it, basically defined by the algorithm, and it's something that's built to last. Satoshi uses mathematical principles to record transactions on something called a blockchain. This makes it virtually impossible to reverse the transaction. It also makes it pretty much impossible to go in and do a fraudulent transaction, but it's distributed, so transactions are very visible, and it's also anonymous. So all these things make it very attractive to people, and that's why I believe it's going to last, and that's why I'm excited about it. However, how would one get involved in this? If I persuaded you to get involved, how do you get involved? Well, first thing to do is you've got to have a strong, it's going to be counterintuitive, but you have to have a strong financial strategy or plan for fiat currencies. Fiat currencies are the traditional currencies like the US dollar. Why am I saying that? Well, I believe Bitcoin's going to go up. I mean, it's going to go up to the moon, but that's not going to happen immediately. And so, because we don't know when Bitcoin is going to go up, we need a strong investment plan to keep us solvent until it does go up. It may be next year, it might be a few years from now. We don't know. And what I've seen tragically happen with some folks who get started is they want to finance their day-to-day expenses using cryptocurrencies, and that's not going to work. It's too volatile a market. So when people have this idea they're going to finance their day-to-day transactions using cryptocurrencies, they get into trouble because it's not set up to do that. You need a plan for how you're going to pay your day-to-day bills, and then cryptocurrencies are about creating a legacy long-term. So I definitely recommend you need to create an account on some kind of a cryptocurrency platform. I personally recommend Coinbase. You're going to find there's two different types of accounts. There's exchanges. Exchanges are places where you can trade cryptocurrencies, and that's one way to make money with cryptocurrencies. The other is a wallet. A wallet is more a place to hold cryptocurrencies for a longer period of time. And most cryptocurrencies platforms allow you to do both, but you need to be aware of those two different ways of approaching cryptocurrency accounts. Final thing I'd recommend doing is getting some training in cryptocurrencies. I'm actually going to make a recommendation, and this is not someone that I'm selling for. So if you accept this recommendation, I do not make any money. But I'm going to recommend something called the Ivy League Crypto Academy. It's founded by someone named Brandon Ivy. It's kind of a play on words because this man's name is Brandon Ivy, but he's also saying Ivy League. So he's kind of making a pun out of his own name. And I especially recommend his low-level tier, what he calls the gold plan, because he teaches the basics. When you get into his more advanced stuff, it sometimes gets into stuff I don't recommend, but he's taught me some amazing stuff at the very basic level. So I recommend his basic level, which is not too expensive. Some of his other plans are more expensive. I don't think you need those, but you need the basic stuff. So anyway, though, in sum, I think cryptocurrencies are a great long-term investment, not short-term, but I recommend starting out by getting an account on somewhere like Coinbase and then getting solid education from someone like Brandon Ivy, or there's many others out there. That's just one person I'm recommending, and the Ivy League Crypto Academy. Thank you, and back to you, Madam Evaluator.
Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you, David. And this club usually takes a minute to let the evaluator have time to think about their evaluation. So, David, if you could give us a minute on the timer, that'd be great.
Thank you. I have just put a minute on the clock.
All right. Thank you. Okay, thank you, David. Let's see, Veronica, are you about ready?
I am, but I think that David will be also my evaluator.
Right. Okay, so I'll have David introduce your speech. David?
Oops. He's on mute.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, yes. So thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And yes, it is my honor today to introduce Veronica Sanford, who is, as Veronica noted, has been a friend of mine for many years. And Veronica is an experienced Toastmaster as well. And she is going to be today giving an icebreaker speech, which is a speech for introducing a new path that Veronica is working on, which is dynamic leadership. And so it's an icebreaker speech. It's going to be her first speech within that particular path. And her speech title is Be the Example. Toastmasters can help you give convincing speeches, compassionate yet balanced evaluations, and learn critical leadership skills in the process. As an icebreaker speech, it's going to be 4 to 6 minutes, a little shorter than some other speeches. So, Veronica Sanford, be the example. Be the example, Veronica Sanford.
Thank you so much, David. Really appreciate it. Well, I've been a Toastmaster since 2005, and I may not act like it. For those who know me, I'm actually an introvert. I'm very introverted. After a day at a conference or a long day physically at work, I go home and I don't talk to anybody. I just crash. I might as well have a hole in the floor, where I'd crawl into. That said, some of my friends have said how much they have seen me change since I have been in Toastmasters. And I directly attribute it, not all of those changes, some of it's just natural maturing process, but a lot of those changes are directly related to my speaking in public. The reason that I joined is I wanted to be able to stand calm and centered if a hostile reporter put a microphone in my face and asked me negative and really jarring questions. I wanted to be able to be calm in that. In that process, we had TV Toastmasters where we were standing in front of cameras, which were recording us, which were then edited, but then shown on local TV. So I will say that through that process, being in the bright lights, giving speech after speech after speech, at one point I belonged to 7 clubs. I gave hundreds of speeches. So I will say that I have learned a lot in the process. Nobody has to go to that extent, but I will tell you some of my perspective in the process. Some of the areas I've seen progress in my own communication style is family, work, and then social. Social including both day-to-day interactions and nonprofits, religious organizations, and or politics. So I'll go on from there. With regard to my family, I have now become comfortable having difficult conversations. I came from a family of introverts. When we were mad at each other, we went in our room and read a book. That was the extent of our arguments. You would always know when someone was mad or upset when they went in their room. But I don't shy away from difficult conversations anymore. I'm not afraid to hear details. If I see somebody is upset with me, I will ask, hey, brother, are you mad at me? And he will say, you really don't want to know. And I go, yeah, I really want to know. My point is we never know how long we have on the planet alive. We never know if this time will be the last time we see somebody. So I would rather clear the air. And the last time that I saw my brother was exactly that. We had a very difficult conversation. We worked it out. The whole family came together and did, I hate to say, a kumbaya session, but it really was. This process has become a respite for my introversion. It's got me comfortable having difficult conversations. It also has got me far more comfortable having difficult conversations with somebody else and saying to them, hey, look, can I talk to you about something that you did the other day? Because it hurt my feelings. And then introducing that and having them and I reconcile. It works out. Work. Boy, most if not all of us have to work for a living. I was born with a plastic spoon in my mouth, not a silver spoon. So I work for a living. That's it. And I haven't made millions on cryptocurrency. Bought a few. That's all. I just bought a few. That's all. I haven't sold anything. That's it. So work, I have grown to develop the self-confidence needed to be able to discuss difficult topics. Maybe not in front of a hostile reporter, but if I have a boss who's upset that we haven't met the deadline or is concerned about us not meeting the deadline, then I can adroitly either say, I don't have that information this moment. I will get back to you right away, or I can tell them what I have and then add a caveat. I will say that those off the cuff questions of, hey, what's going on with so and so? I've seen them. They seem to be pretty upset. I try to keep a close tabs on, in a good way, on my team. Also, giving and receiving feedback. This is something we do almost every day here at Toastmasters, and we give and receive feedback. And for me, the key with receiving feedback is to listen if it's truly perceived to be negative, to try to stay unemotional, observe, and then go back in my introverted way and reflect on it. Going into social, I will say I have become a president of two nonprofits. One, of course, was our Toastmaster Club, but the other one was something I never would have expected for myself to be because I'm super busy, but they asked me and I did become that. And it's made a lot of difference in my personal life and my confidence. I will say that I'm not directly involved in politics, but anybody who has any passion at all, school boards, community service, whatever it is you're doing, I truly believe that if you are able to speak eloquently and with practice over time, you will find that you become much more persuasive and life's a lot more fun. Back to you, Madam Table Topics. Excuse me, Madam Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you, Veronica. Let's see. And then I will ask David to put a minute on the clock for his time to work on his evaluation of Veronica's speech.
Thank you. I'm evaluating now and I've got the timer running.
All right.
Time's up. It's not that effective being timer and being evaluated because I don't check the time. But yes, I'm done.
You're okay. Okay, great. Okay. Next, we have the evaluation portion of our meeting, and I will be your general evaluator today. So I would like to introduce our first evaluator, Veronica Sanford. Veronica?
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. That's a mouthful. I would like to say, David, really, really well done. You've come such a long way from when you first started speaking at Toastmasters. Really inspired by your progress. I love that you involved the audience right away by asking questions. Number one, you got to find out where they were. And the other part is it really does feed our ego. Because of course we don't really care about anything you have to say. We just want to know how it affects us. So the fact that you recognized how important we are made all the difference. The structure was very good as well. I enjoyed that. I liked how you went step by step by step in terms of how you can start trading, but also the importance of getting training. One of the things that I think would make the speech even better is if you think that there's something that people are going to want to write down, that to repeat it. And repeat it a couple of times, and I would say it, even repeat it within the same area of the speech, because I wrote down Ivy League crypto. And then later on, you repeated it, but I still didn't catch it because I was already writing other things down. Way back. And I was trying to evaluate at the same time. It's not important. I've got way too much going on. My point being that it's nice if it's a courtesy if you could repeat something. Especially, I think your speech pattern is a little bit fast for me being in Ohio. When I was living in New York, I spoke a lot quicker. In Ohio, we're not quite Kentucky. I better stop. I'm getting myself in trouble. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
All right. Thank you, Veronica. Okay, now we will have, let's see, David, the evaluator for Veronica. We normally don't have to evaluate each other, but we're kind of playing double and triple rows tonight. So David's going to be evaluating Veronica's speech.
Thank you. Sorry, just playing with the stopwatch here. Okay, sorry about that. I was just playing with my stopwatch. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Actually, we have often had a scenario, I think it's happened in a number of meetings, where Joy and I have both been speakers and we have been evaluators for one another. So that is a pattern we've done a little bit before. And unfortunately, this meeting was also somewhat sparse the attendance, so no respite from that particular pattern. Veronica, I definitely thought this was a great speech. Obviously, it definitely helped that you had a topic that we're interested in because you're talking about the benefits of Toastmasters, and we're all Toastmasters. We want to know about that. So that helped. But you also grabbed our attention very quickly with the introduction, talking about how you yourself are introverted, which got our attention because you're now talking about how someone who is introverted can nevertheless succeed well in a public speaking type of role, which was definitely interesting to learn. Some other things that I thought you did really, really well. I thought you had very, very little reliance on notes. There were some good hand gestures. That's always difficult. I try to use hand gestures, but it's difficult in this format. But I think you did have some of that. What I thought you did really, really well was your use of stories. I think there were a couple of really good stories. One was how you joined a number of different 7 different Toastmasters clubs, which inspired me to up my game. Very excited to hear that. And you also mentioned how it has helped in communication with family members And I hadn't even thought of that as a benefit for Toastmasters, but that is, that is definitely there as a strong benefit. The only thing I might suggest to up your game even a little bit more, Veronica, would be a little bit more in the way of pauses or transitions. The transition to one part of the speech to the next was not always 100% clear. It was obviously clear, like for example, at one point you mentioned you mentioned work, and you mentioned how after work you're in a very introverted state of mind, and that was good. Your tone of voice changed a little bit, so I recognized that was a little bit of a different section of the speech, but maybe a pause would have emphasized a little bit more. But that's all I really have. A great speech and a great topic, and you definitely captured your audience, got us interested, and kept us interested for the whole speech. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, as a general evaluator, my next job is to introduce the grammarian for her report, and I am the grammarian. I am pleased to say that I heard the word respite by David, Joy, and Veronica. So thank you for using the word of the day. And let's see, who was the first speaker? Was David. During your speech, you only had about 5 ahs. And let's see, I liked when you talked about the elephant in the room. I thought that was a colorful description. Let's see, in Veronica's speech, I only counted 1 ah, so very eloquent. And I liked it when you said you were born with a plastic spoon in your mouth. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Joy. Let's see, I had some notes on Joy. You were nice enough to give yourself a table topic question to give another example of a table topic answer for our guest, Deshawn. And I did notice around 5 or so ahs, ums in your table topic, which I think is a little atypical. Let's see. Okay, and I'm sure that I probably had a lot of filler words. I know in another Toastmaster club, they say I use the word and, like along and I did this. So I have to try to watch myself doing that. I did catch one or two double clutches from David. A double clutch is when you start to say one thing and then maybe go on to in a different direction in your topic. And another example of a double clutch is when you say the same word twice. Like one time you said two. So that's just another something that the evaluators or the grammarian looks for. And here's her report for the meeting. Okay, how are we doing on time? Over? We need to move on. Okay. So I will ask our timer, David, to give his timing report.
Thank you. And with respect to time, we are a little over time for the meeting, so I'll try to make this quick. So for table topics, I was at 1 minute 26 seconds. Janet was at 2 minutes 3 seconds, so within the grace period, slightly over the 2 minutes, but within the grace period. Veronica, 1 minute 26 seconds. Deshawn, I wasn't sure if we had some technical difficulties. Deshawn, you started speaking and then you seemed to cut out, so I wasn't sure whether to start the clock again. So we included the initial part. It would be 1 minute 30 seconds, but it was just 1 minute after you really started speaking in earnest. But either way, within the time range, so that was good. Joy, 1 minute 54 seconds. For the speeches, I was 7 minutes 24 seconds. Veronica, 6 minutes 14 seconds. So both slightly over, but within the grace period. Veronica, for the evaluation, 1 minute 58 seconds, and I was 2 minutes 44 seconds. Thank you, and back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Okay, thank you, David. And I will keep my general evaluator wrap up the meeting report to a minimum. And sometimes we have a sandwich method of evaluation where you say something good and then something for improvement and then in with something good. Veronica ended with that she kind of stuck her foot in her mouth and she better not say anymore. So anyway, that was kind of cute. But David did do the sandwich method of saying something nice and some things for improvement. She talked about Veronica could have used a pause better in her speech, and then ended up with a quick something good about the speech. And let's see. I will say that I appreciate everyone's working the theme of the day into their speeches, our table topics, the Walt Disney theme and dreams. And as Toastmaster, I'll just say thank you to Sean for taking a table topic question and participating. And I'll turn control back of our meeting back to our president, Joy.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you for everyone who participated in a table topic. And thank you for excellent speeches tonight. And I'm not just kidding. I really enjoyed the speeches and I learned a lot. So that's always a good thing for me. I'm going to wrap up the meeting and call it officially adjourned. And I would like to see you all back on the third Saturday of the month, which is December 21st at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. So I'm going to jump off of here, and I really appreciate everybody joining tonight. Talk to you all later. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.